Why doesn't Australia have an aristocracy? One of the most famous aristocracies in the world is, of course, the United Kingdom. What is an aristocracy? The highest class in certain societies, typically comprising of people with noble birth, holding hereditary titles. The UK's aristocracy is organised as follows. The lowest aristocratic class is barons or baronesses, like ex-Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Next up, we have viscounts. This is Robin Devereux, 19th Viscount of Hereford. Next up, we have earls, who is currently James of Wessex. Prior to Queen Elizabeth II's death, her youngest child, Prince Edward, held this role. Next up, we have marquesses, and who you can see here is David Cholmondeley, the 7th Marquess of Cholmondeley, which is located in Cheshire, England. The highest rank without being the king or queen is, of course, the duke or the duchess. You may recognise Prince William, who is Duke of Rothesay now, or the Prince of Wales. So why didn't an aristocracy never take hold in Australia? Sadly, nothing ever manifested from William Wentworth's proposal of an Australian aristocracy. His proposals were jokingly called the Bunyip aristocracy by the Australian press. Nevertheless, Wentworth proposed hereditary title in the newly formed New South Wales colony in 1853. Born in Plymouth, England, James MacArthur was an Australian landowner, a man who sought to divide the free settlers and the convicts. His son, James MacArthur, was nominated to the New South Wales Legislative Council in 1853. The first Australian peers were to be appointed to the Legislative Council for life, and on their deaths the peerages would pass on. Their successors would be eligible for the election to the New South Wales Legislative Council in the same manner as Scottish and Irish peers were elected to the British House of Lords. We know how the story ends though. An Australian aristocracy never came to fruition. The reasons why can be stated in an 1853 article which mocked Wentworth's proposals, calling the proposal of an Australian aristocracy a laughing stock of every other civilised nation. Wentworth was also branded the Duke of Vaucluse, which was the name of his home. Although as much as Australia rejected the aristocracy, Australians still fed into the perceived stereotypes of commonality and nobility. As in, poorly spoken individuals tend to come from those who have majority convict blood. While a majority of Australians are careless in their speech, there are some people, such as Malcolm Fraser, who spoke with a more cultivated accent. Conclusion. Why were Australians so critical at the thought of an Australian aristocracy, considering the massive amount of free settlement during Wentworth's time? I mean, it would have been a system that the colonisers would have known. Victoria had more power than the British government. We embraced the monarchy until today. It just seems weird and counterintuitive to Australia. The fact that Australia was made up of mostly Irish Republicans may have also been a reason for opposition, although one would be under the impression that most of the colonisers would have been from England, hence our accent. Even so, many in England supported the American Revolution and may have seen Australia as an escape from the aristocratic systems back home. Although, we look at Australia in the 1950s, and it was much more traditional, but people took a postmodernist view on the aristocracy, even though it was about 130 years earlier, in